All right, I'm just gonna start for now. I'll try to, yeah, let's start. Yeah, so this lesson is gonna be on peace value and trading, and so we're gonna start with a short quiz on forks and pins. So I have a few questions here. Uh, type your answers. Sure. Let me make it bigger. Be a bit too big. Yeah. Uh, So yeah, it's in these there's three questions. It's either a fork or a pen. The last one's a bit more complicated. Uh, start with a simple one. Should actually feel cold. Yeah, all of you guys are correct. Knight d4. It's quite simple. Um, so yeah, I should probably set up. Okay, I just flip this with the knights. The main pieces. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So knight d4. Yeah. Okay. Remove the other pieces. They don't really matter. So yeah, knight d4, you're attacking both rooks. Uh, if one of them moves away, take the other one. You just take the other one down. Um, okay, this next one. This next one? Oh, yeah. Okay, I see a lot of people saying rook e1. Yeah, you're correct. It's a pin, but there's a different, better one. You can gain material. Yeah, so the idea is correct, but when we go rook e1, like you're pinning a piece the same values. It can just it can just run away, or they could trade, which I'll get into later without losing anything. Yeah, bishop b5. Bishop b5 is correct. Why? So we go bishop b5. Uh, yeah, we go bishop b5. Yeah, when you go bishop e5, your bishop is pinning the rook, and so if the rook cannot move away because you'll take the king, so it's illegal. And the king must move away, in which case you take the rook. Yeah, good job. This next one's a little bit more complicated. Yeah, so far so good. Yeah, I designed this one to be a bit more tricky. Be, be careful. Did you guys cover yeah, rookie one is like technically a pin, but usually when they're trying to uh well in our case they're trying to pin something, it should be higher value than the piece you're using. So if the rook on e6 was or a queen, the rook on e6 or a queen, then it would be worth it. Right? So the queen cannot move away. Queen can take your rook and you take it back. And the rook is worth more than the queen, as we'll get into later. I should probably start with this. But yeah. So just know yeah, yeah, when you're doing a pin or a fork, you use a lower value piece. So like a knight, a pawn, or bishop usually, not a rook. I mean, yeah, you can use rook too, but if you're dealing with queens. Well, in the case of both. Yeah, okay. I'll give you some hint. So yeah, for this one, bishop, if you play bishop e5, which uh yeah, I expected the answer, but this with bishop e5, there's a pawn on a6, and if you remember, pawns capture to the side, and when you go play bishop e5, what happens? Yeah, I'm gonna break this down step by step. A few more people to answer. More people to participate. Question is, what happens after bishop b5? Get 2 more minutes. Yeah, I probably should have sure. Okay. Okay. This looks like it's a bit hard. I'll go through it. I'll go through it step by step. Yeah. So start with what happens after bishop b5. So after bishop b5, yeah, it's the right idea. With the pawn back here on a7, it'll be perfect because there's nothing that's stopping you from doing the thing. But with the pawn on a6, they can just take your bishop, unfortunately. So. Yeah, bishop b5 does not work. Um, so yeah, that's a pin. What else do we have? We have a fork, right? What do we do in the what do we do in the first puzzle? What was the move, guys? Who knows? I'm gonna go back just. What was the move here? Well, what are you guys? Yep, correct. Knight d4. And why does it not work here? Give me a second. Yeah, so just gonna remove all the other distracting pieces. So knight d4. You're forking the rooks, right? But yeah, okay. Yeah, so why do you take the Why do you play bishop takes b4 first? Why do you take the knight first? What's the idea? It's correct, but why? Yeah, correct. So yeah, the reason you can't play knight d4 immediately is because it's because black can just take with the pawn again. With bishop e5 our pin, they could take your bishop. Here they can take your knight. But by playing bishop takes b4, so this is an example of a trade actually. Um, Bishop takes b4, c takes b4. Um, and now with no pawn on c5 to take your knight, you can go knight d4 and attack both rooks. If one of them moves away, you take the other one. Yeah, good job. Now I'll get another down to review. I'll go into the. I'm not sure if you guys cover this, but or if you know it already, but if you do, just be a review. Um, okay, so for our piece values, right? Um, so the pawn is worth 1 point in most instances. Knights are worth 3. Bishops are also worth 3. I personally like bishops more, but it's up for debate. Rooks are worth 5 and queens are worth 9. They're like the main reason the queen is worth so much is because the queen's most powerful as uh, it can move to the most places basically. Has the longest range. And the king there is no value you can assign to it because if it's gone you lose the game. Okay, so a quick quiz. How many pieces is the rook worth? How many points is the rook worth? Okay, good. Bishop, pawn, king. Yeah, good. Infinite. Last one, queen. Okay, you guys remember everything very well. So yeah, and like so that's why like in the like for that's why forks and pins work because in this position, yeah, I'll be correct. Good job. Uh, that's why like yeah, in the position works. Your knight's uh less valuable than the rooks, and you're attacking two of them. So if one of them moves, you take the other, you've already gained something. Same for a pin. The rook cannot move. Well, in this case, I'm pretty sure Isaac has covered it, but the rook cannot move because it's absolute pin because there's a king behind it. Uh, but basically, you're attacking a valuable a piece that's more valuable, and there's a piece of equal value. So like a rook or queen or king. King, the rook definitely cannot move. The other ones, I mean, it can move, but just All right. So here, good versus bad trade. Um, so first of all, there's two trades you can do. Um, kind of wrote it here, but if you want to try yourself, that's fine as well. The moves the pieces you can trade or capture. You can take the pawn on b5, bishop takes b5, and you can take a rook on f, bishop takes f5. Which one's better? All right. Yeah, yeah. This is a little easier one. Uh, yeah. You take the rook. Why? Because in both instances they'll take your bishop back, but the rook is the rook is worth five and the pawn's only worth one. So would you rather make a positive trade where you make 2 points, or you're going to go take the pawn, you lose 2 points. Of course, you go possible, but it's not always the case. I'll show you a few examples where it's not the best idea. Yeah, I take the correct. Rook h8 works as well, but it doesn't exactly. No, sorry, Rook h8 does not work. Rook f8, the rook runs away. But I mean, in this instance, we're just talking about trades. I can remove the rook or all the other pieces for all that matters. Um, yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's really the essence of it. Usually you want to make positive trades, but you do need to be careful. Sometimes there are better things, which I'll get into. Okay. Yeah, so this is an example of trading. So first, what's the trade, and second, what's the better move? This is what you see. You guys can see the chat in the way, right? Is chat in the way? Correct. No, knife seven's good. So yeah, correct. Yeah, yeah. You guys saw the mate. Very well. Good job. What was the trade in this position? Yeah, okay, knight takes g6. Um, and why is it bad? Yeah, yeah. It's okay. The knight takes g6. The thing about this is, in this instance, the trade does not accomplish anything. Knight takes g6. Uh, the pawn just takes back. Okay. You can, if you can't visualize it, I will set it up quickly. Yeah. So in this position, Yeah, so knife seven's a good move. You just mate. The king is smothered. Knight takes g6 does not accomplish anything in this instance because the pawn just takes back. Um, so yeah, in a lot of position, like trade A doesn't really accomplish anything. Yeah, one thing I do have to say that I should have put earlier is typically typically when you're ahead in material, so you have more points than your opponent. You want to trade pieces. An example of this would be um okay, I'll cover this. I'm not sure if I've covered this already. Have you guys covered king and rook mate? Okay. Okay, seems like you haven't, but yeah. Basically when you have more pieces, more pieces. Okay, I take no it yeah, you guys might have heard of it, but within the classes have we covered it? I'll take it as a no. Um but yeah, say like here, you have kings, we don't count that. We have white has two rooks. Yeah, we'll cover it. I'll cover it a bit. Okay, okay, yeah, some of you guys might have seen it. I'll explain it for those who have not already. Yeah, rook f8's fine. But yeah, so you have two rooks, and yeah, 10 points, and black only has one rook. But the thing is, with this rook on the board, you can't. Well, it makes your job much harder. But with with the rooks gone, now black has a lone king, and you have a king and a rook, which, as I'll explain, is enough to force checkmate. This might be a bit complicated. So typically, when you have like a material advantage, like I can add more pieces to the board. Like let's say that I can add a few pawns to the board. So it's too many pawns actually. I can add a few pawns. It doesn't change anything. Basically you just want to get all these pieces off the board, and then you can deliver mates. Um, okay, in another instance, okay, for this one, so there's a well, I should add a rook to make it actually a trading. Yeah, but it isn't exactly a trade now. Okay, so here, yeah, you can trade, right? Bishop takes e2, and then what does black do? You can just take your bishop. Right? But and yeah, you've gained something. You trade your bishop for a rook, and you've gained 2 points. But as we'll see, it's not always the case. That's not always the most important thing. There is one thing that is more important than material. It's white to move. Yeah, correct. Yeah, bishop d5, mate. Why is it mate? The king has no escape. The white king controls b8. The white knight controls a7, and the bishop and king control b7. It's mate. So yeah, in this case, you need to be alert. Like if you have a chance to deliver mate, it's infinitely more important than uh, gaining some material. Yeah. Okay, now I will explain king and rook. So yeah, so so when you're ahead in material, you want to trade pieces. So your end goal really is to get a position like this. Black has nothing, just a king. You have a king and a piece or two to mate with. So you have a rook. A queen is easier, but I'm gonna do rook. So let me just start from there. Um, so yeah, there's few ways to do this. The way I was taught, and I think it's a good way. Um, it's relatively simple to imagine as well. Is the box. So you wanna get the king. You're not gonna make the king in the center, right? So why? Because the king has eight possible squares in it. Well, not eight because there's a theoretically it has eight. It can run in all these directions, and there's just no way your rook and your king can control all of them. So you wanna push the king to the corner. If the king is in the corner or here, the king has three in the corner and five out otherwise. And basically you can do that. Right. So here, this is your end goal. The king is on the back rank, so so home turf at the back, and your rook's also on the back rank, delivering mate. So the king controls. Then this is the end goal. I'm gonna explain how to get there. Um, So yeah, the king controls the white king controls black's escape forward, and the rook is like a laser that just guns down the other two squares and the whole rank. Yeah. So yeah, the method we're gonna use is the box. So you wanna get the king into a smaller box, smaller and smaller box. Okay, rook e4. So we're gonna start with this. The king is stuck in this 5 by 5 box. The king must move. So if the king moves here, how do you make the box smaller? Yeah, rook e4, and after that, king c5. Yeah, rook e4 is correct after king c5. Yeah, correct. Rook d4. What does this do? The box, we're making the box smaller, so 4 by 5. Uh, now I'll cover if black doesn't just run to the sides. Okay, if black runs to the sides, what do we do? And let's tell you what happens if black doesn't. Correct. Rook c4. You make it even smaller. So yeah, in this case, black is making your drop easy. Um, if black, but like for example here, king a5. What do you do? This is king a5. No idea. Good. King c3. What's wrong? What's wrong with rook b4? So I want to make the block smaller. Correct. Black can just take your rook. So it's important to while your goal is to make the box smaller and try to mate the king, you can't lose the rook because then there is no mate. Yeah, king c3. So your goal is to guard the rook. Okay, now what happens after king b5? Yes, black can take the rook. Good job. Yeah, it seems like some of you have learned this already, but explain for those who haven't. I'm getting some mixed answers. Okay, yeah, most of you guys are correct. King b3. So yeah, here rook b4 is not a good idea because it does not make the box smaller. Black just runs, and now black's box is very big. And 4 by 7, 4 by 6, sorry. Uh, and you have to shut the king back. That you ruined your progress. So yeah, you wait. King b3. So now black has two things he can do. You can move to the side where you make the box smaller like this, or the king moves back. So yeah, okay, again, it's important to play these videos. You can't make it smaller. You can't make it smaller every turn. It's impossible. The black king will just escape. But yeah, if you wait, the black king will have to go back. So black goes back, and you go forward. If black goes back, you keep going forward. Okay, say I have two things. Okay, so let's start with this. King a6, what happened now? Okay, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, rook c5 works. Yeah, I mean, okay, but both of them work. In this case, rook c6 check is a bit quicker. Rook c5 is the right principle, though. You're making it smaller. But rook c5 isn't a check, and after king b6, you'd have to wait again, play king c4. It works. In this case, rook c6 check is a bit quicker. because uh it makes the box smaller and the king cannot go escape, right? Which is your main worry. The king cannot escape forward because it's controlled guarded by your king. So yeah. But yeah, if you want to make it easier, you can just play Rook C5. Just don't check until you mate. Yeah. Yeah, you wait. If king goes here, what do you do? King A6. What do you do? Yeah, Rook B5. Seems like you guys got it. Okay. And if king moves back, you go forward. Um, Here, king A7. We're close. Okay, so what happens? Yeah, Rook C6, Rook C7, both work. Rook C7 is more quicker. Just be careful. Like, yeah, you can check, but just make sure the king cannot run away. You can go Rook C6, so Rook C7 just quicker in this case. If king B8, you go forward, right? And king A8, you deliver mate. So yeah, you stop. Black king cannot run forward. I cannot go here, and I just made it. Yeah, good job. One last thing, king A8. What happens? So yeah, as you see, I'll summarize that then. King A8. Yeah, rook C7 check king A8 window. Oh, rook C7. I mean, that doesn't. I rooked on C7 already. No, that's from earlier. Yeah, king B6, good. King B8. Now what? Yeah, yeah. King B6, king B8. Okay, this actually interesting. King C8. I think you mean rook C8, but what rook C8 does not work because the king just takes. Um, so what else can you play? I think I got you guys with this one. Yeah, okay. In this case, king C6. It works until the back rank. Rook D7 is fine. King C6 does not work now, right? King 8. In this case, your goal is not to make the box smaller anymore because at this point the box is so small that there's no place for the king to go anymore. You still made it. You still made it the king. Yeah, and yeah, I can't think your word here. It's guarded. It just stalemate. So in this case, It takes some practice for sure. Yeah, so okay, if you move your rook to the side, the king will run. If you move your king, it doesn't really accomplish anything because you can't make the box smaller without stalemating. So in this case, what you do is you don't move your king, you move your rook, just anywhere along the tile. So yeah, like rook, just move rooks back to c6. The king, like in this case, at the very end, like throughout the whole journey, you're trying to make it smaller, but at the end, just have a bit of patience and recognize that at this point your goal is to mate it, not make the box smaller anymore. Yeah, rook c6. King can't go forward because it's all guarded. King can't go to c8 because it's guarded by a rook. King has to go to the corner, and then rook c8 mate, as we've seen before. Yeah. Quick review because I still have something to show after this. So yeah, basically you try to make the box smaller with every move you go. First it's 5 by 5, now it's 4 by 5, now it's 3 by 5. Um, but yeah, you need to make sure rook's defended. You can't just make it smaller forever. But you need to have a bit of patience. Uh, so yeah, you need to make sure it's guarded, and you need to make sure that you don't let the king out of the box. You with each move, the box must be smaller or at least the same size as before. So yeah, king b3, you wait. If they go back, you go forward. If they go to the side, you check. If they go back, you go for. If they go here, you go forward and guard your rook. If they go back, you go forward. I mean, okay, honestly, okay. In this instance, in the corner, I think maybe a better way to do it is just to copy exactly what they do. If you can't remember the weighting, you can copy king a8, king a6, king b8, king b6, and then here when they go back to the corner, of course you don't copy them again, you just still eliminate. All right. Um, that's it for king and rook. I have a quick game to show. Um, actually, I have a position. Yeah, I'll show these two, and then I'll show a few positions from the game. I think the whole game is relevant. Okay. This one isn't exactly a trade, but it does involve pieces. Okay, so this position. Two more positions. Actually, wait, I'll show like one position from the game. Yeah, what do you do here? What do you guys do in this position? Okay. Help you guys a little bit. So, okay. If you notice, you have a bishop on g2 here, and there's a knight on b7. So you can just take it, right? Bishop takes b7. Okay, the question should be, yeah, what's wrong with bishop takes b7? You need to notice it, yeah. Queen b3 works. It's the same principle, yeah. The knight's free. The knight's free. Okay, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with taking? Bishop d5 is fine. The queen can take. Queen takes d5, or the king can just move out of the way. Yeah, the question is bishop takes b7. What happens next? Hints. Yeah, no, the knight is free. There's no piece that will take your bishop out. But there is something way more important than the knight. Yeah, queen b3. I mean, that's the same thing. Yeah, you take the knight. You already have a bishop here. Yeah, good that you can spot queen b3, but you already have a bishop on g2 that can take the knight on b7. Okay, yeah. So you can't take the knight because as I sneakily put I put a queen and a rook on the side. So they're threatening to just ram through your king side and take take the h2 pawn. So bishop takes b7, and then queen takes h2. I should probably illustrate it for all the pieces that have. Yeah. Okay, there's this. Yeah, so this is oh sorry. I put the queen in. Okay. Yeah. Here. So bishop takes b7. It does not work because queen takes h2 mate. Right? So the queen is protected by the rook, and the queen controls your escape scores, and the other scores are blocked by the rook and pawn. Yeah, so even if this were a trade, like there's a piece guarding, like say a rook on f7 or b8, you need to be careful if black has something. And the earlier position, it was we were the one doing the mate, right? So we had free rook, or we had a free rook, or if there was a regarding we had a free positive trade, but we have a even more positive trade, which is delivering mate. Um, yeah, and yeah, what happens next? So, sorry, yeah, so since black is threatening to mate, you need to do something, right? You notice that your rook's blocking the way. You can move it out of the way, but black will still take your pawn. And yeah, while you survived, that there's a better way to do it. If yeah, so the queen's threatening to take. What you can do is simply just shut it out. You play h4. Now the queen cannot jump over pieces, and even if it could, you just take. Sorry. And now yeah, you just block. If black takes queen takes h4, you can just take back with your pawn. And that's a very positive trade. Your opponent gave you a queen and you gave a pawn in return. And as for black, after h4, there's no mate threat anymore, but the knight's still under attack. So what black should do in this instance is move it out of the way. It's like c5. Well, you're attacking white's queen. Yeah. So for this position, yeah, you see the free piece to recognize that it's not so free because you're gonna get mated. Then you how to deal with the mate. Like you can try to remove the threat um by blocking the pieces out. And then after that, your opponent or if it's you, you can move your attack piece out of the way. You can attack opponent's pieces. So, yeah, move your pieces attack out of the way. Yeah. I will show I don't have time to show the whole game, but I will show one position from it. Um, just the very end, actually. Okay, this is a very famous game. I think maybe some of you have seen it. It's the Immortal game played by Adolf Anderson, Lionel Kizritsky. I don't know how to pronounce it. So yeah, this goes to one of our topics. Mate is more important than material. So yeah, this will be the last position. It's a fun one. Oh yeah, it's do. And don't be worried to sacrifice pieces. Oh, guess yeah, I guess I'm pretty good. Yeah, yeah, Queen f6 is right. If you want to like correctly notate it, yeah, you should write Queen f6 check. So see some of didn't. Yeah, the idea is correct. Queen f6, but what happens after that? Knight takes f6. I'm not gonna make you guys visualize. Just take. This is knight, remember? Queen f6 is not mate. They can take your queen. What happens after that? Yep, bishop e7 mate. Why is it mate? Attacking the king. Um, the black king is blocked by his own pieces. It can't go back to starting square because of this sneaky knight. Can't take your bishop, it's guarded. And the last escape square on c7 is also controlled by your knight. But yeah, bishop c7 is very beautiful, right? But what's wrong with the other one? Bishop c7. What's wrong with bishop c7? Why is it a check and not a mate? It's the same principle. You control this, control these squares, your knight guards the bishop. Right? These squares are so blocked. So why isn't it mate? Correct. This knight can just take your bishop. And now there's no mate. So yeah, so yeah, be careful. You don't be afraid. This is one of like the most classic examples. Yeah, just uh I didn't get to show the earlier game, but I can quickly show like basically why gave as like why just gave away most of his pieces. Like yeah. So here like at the okay, first of all, white gave the bishop here. I won't delve into why it's a bit complicated, but white gave this rook. White gave black this rook, and then this rook, and finally the queen, all to deliver checkmate. So yeah. All right, that'll be it for today. If you have any questions, you can ask them now, or you can ask them. You can send it to my email later. That's fine. Yeah, okay. All right, that'll be it. Yeah, thank you. If you have any questions again, yeah, you can send them. Bye. Have a good day.